Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Gemma, Sprinkled Donut, Tamarin, Juicy Jules, and Rupal. Good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you all had a great weekend. You're reading some comments here. Give me a minute. I hope you're staying safe, Tamarin. Waterlogged West Virginia. And it's not gonna. I guess you guys got the next storm, Miles or whatever it is coming up. Supposed to hit the west coast of Florida on Wednesday. I think it's supposed to make landfall. They're predicting it to be what, Category 3. So West Virginia, yeah, right after that, after it hits Florida. Stay safe out there. Juicy Jules, hi y'all for family. Y'all have a mother-in-law room cabin. Love to see Washington by you. Cool. Are you taking a trip to Washington, Juicy Jules? Excuse me. Rupal, hello, sleepy. Yes, it is very late where you are, Rupal. But you made it. Cement shoes. Good evening. Sal. Good evening. Mel as well. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Milton. That's what it was. Tamara. Thank you. Excuse me. Just drink some water. Inner Peas. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Inner Peas. I hope you had a great weekend. Yeah, I got friends who are down around the Daytona area, and they're still cleaning up from the last hurricane, and now with another one coming, both be making landfall by Wednesday. It's not going to be good, and they're already telling them that if and when power is knocked out, that it's going to take some time to get certain services back up and running. So they're doing the best they can right now, just starting to clean up from the last one. And this one is supposed to be a Category 3, so it's going to be a whopper to hit the west coast of the of Florida. And Carolina, Kevin Brand. Good evening, Kevin. I hope you're staying safe in South Carolina. Left-handed RN, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you both had a terrific weekend. Gotta stay safe out there. If you need to, and if you're getting if you can, the best probably is to get out of the area if you can. I'm just glad I moved from North Carolina coast last year. Over 125 dead. Wow. Yeah, I saw that the death total was like well over 200 at this point, and that's not it. Yeah, that was the last one wasn't even that big of a major hurricane. This one's going to be a whopper. They already know it, and if it hits where it is, it's going to do a heck of a lot more damage. Kitiku, good evening, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a terrific weekend. Glad you could be here with us tonight. Where I live, we never get any kind of like heavy rain, snow. We don't have any earthquakes, nothing here. Mainly why the government built this town in the location it is, because natural disasters just do not affect this area. Lieutenant RN, I'm in North Carolina and not in the mountains, but we are without power you were without power for 36 hours. That's terrible. And yes, Kitty Q, everyone, make sure you're on all messages, not top chat. There is a difference. When you're on top chat or top messages, You don't see the messages as they actually come in real time. You lived in Lenore County? I don't know where that is. Sal? All right. All right. Well, let's get this trivia going, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 325th episode of Trivia Night. All the trivia questions tonight are on H. Holmes, The Evil in the White City. H. Holmes, The Evil in the White City. All right. Rackard, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 1 is on your screen. Besides being a pathological liar, using a false name, oh, there I am. I put myself in my little window. I hate this stupid pop-up. Hold on a second. All right. Besides being a pathological liar using a false name, you could argue that Mr. Holmes was also a murderer, a thief, and fill in the blank. Is it A, a bigamist, B, a rodeo clown, C, editor for Chud Daybell's books, or D, an orthodontist? I can talk. Or E, other. Besides being a pathological liar using a false name, you could argue that Mr. Holmes was a murderer, a thief, and what? Mel, didn't do your homework. Yikes. Well, you might do better on some of these if you didn't do any studying on them. Just what do you think? H. Holmes was a rodeo clown, or an orthodontist, or editor for Chad Daybell's books? Either one that you can use, deduction, and go that way, and then narrow it down to like, okay, maybe it's that one or that one, or other. That's the way I do it sometimes. Question number 1 of 20. H. Holmes, The Evil in the White City. Rackard is going with F. He's a liar. He was the devil. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Mel's like, no, I think he was a bigamist. So Morgan, good evening. Morgan, welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 1 is on your screen. Besides being a pathological liar, using a false name, you could argue that Mr. Holmes was a murderer, a thief, and what? What is the answer to question number 1? Thank you, Gemma, for sharing out tonight's stream. I appreciate that. All right, the answer to question number 1 is A as in apple. A as in apple. He was a bigamist. 3 times he courted women while he was still married, and he married other women while he was still married to his first wife. He was a bigamist. Question number 2. A pathological liar, H. Holmes confessed to murders he didn't actually kill. Some were actually still alive and well. How many murders did he confess to? Is it A, 10, B, 21, C, 8, or D, 24, or add your E as other? A pathological liar, H. Holmes confessed to murders he didn't actually kill. Some were actually alive and well. How many murders did he confess to? Well, you would think, Mel, that you'd have to be a pathological liar, if you're a bigamist. I mean, unless, well, I guess you could be a bigamist, and the other parties know that, they're like the sister wives. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, we've seen reality shows about that. I don't know if there's any definite connection. Inner Peace is going with 144,000, and so is Rykart. Tamarin is going with B question mark 21. Sal is going with D. Gemma is going with C. Question number 2 of 20. How many murders did H. Holmes actually confess to? D, if he was going to lie, he'd lie about a bigger number. Well, that's not always the truth. I mean, when Gary Ridgway was first questioned by law enforcement, he underplayed his total number. But later on, they knew how many he had killed at that point, anyways. He just wouldn't admit to it. So yeah, it could go both ways. All right, question number 2. The correct answer is D as in dog. He confessed to killing 24. So, in case you're wondering who some of these people he confessed to actually killing were, that were still alive and well, and they found them later on. These were people who actually worked in the actual hotel itself, his murder castle. There were some women who worked there as maids and doing like housekeeping work that he said that he had murdered, and they just moved on because they couldn't put up with his. He was a terrible businessman and a pathological liar. He was there, and then he'd just take off, and he was gone because he was always running another scam. But they just quit because either they didn't like working there, or another opportunity came about. But he said he confessed to actually murdering these women, and some of them were actually alive and well and just living in other towns. They just moved on. And good evening, Purple, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 3. So now we know how many murders H. Holmes confessed to. How many murders can be exclusively linked to him? How many murders can be exclusively linked to H. Holmes? Is it A, 10, B, 8, C, 9, D, 21, or E, other? Didn't he kill young kids to collect insurance money? H. Holmes, he killed people to collect the money. Cameron, I don't know about children. I know of he. Well, let me back up there. I know he killed 2 children in total, but that was part of an insurance scam to kill the parents and the children to collect life insurance on both of them. So in that aspect, yes, he did. But a vast majority of his scams with life insurance, he started, doing this a long time ago. We'll learn about that tonight when he started doing these scams. And he also took out life insurance policies on people he didn't kill. They were already dead. He just had paid people to steal the bodies from the morgues, and then he would place them in situations where like a building collapsed on them. And oh, that was my buddy Frank, and the building fell on him, and he's dead. Oh, darn it! Pay up the insurance claim. He did a lot of things like that. 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed. Gianna Marie, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. Question number 3 of 20 is on the screen. Purple is going with C, Morgan A. Theresa is going with D. How many murders can be exclusively linked to H. Holmes? He confessed to killing 24, but how many murders do we know exclusively he, actually committed? The correct answer to question number 3 is C as in cat, 9. 9 murders total it can be exclusively linked to H. Holmes. Now, I hate to break the bad news to a lot of people, but I'm about to ruin a huge part of the myth, the lore, the legend who is H. Holmes. The murder castle that he had built originally only had 2 floors. The third floor was hastily put together, and it was a scam to steal money from his investors who wanted to expand the hotel to a third floor. The third floor was never really completely finished. And what was finished of the third floor was done with the cheapest materials and labor. And even the people who were building it said that I would never stay in this place. Now, another thing about the murder castle is the myths about torture chamber in the basement, that there was machinery that was meant for torturing people, and that's why there was so much lye in the basement. The lye is actually had a very useful purpose, and it was because where the motel hotel was actually built, there was a lot of underground seepage water that came in. So they put the lye down in the basement to actually control the water in the basement. But there are supposedly also murder rooms, torture rooms, hidden rooms in the hotel itself, where he would, he could go from one room to another secretly without anybody knowing it. Yes, there were false doors, that were built into the hotel, but there were no murder rooms in the actual hotel itself. These rooms, these secret rooms, were no more than a oversized like broom closet without an actual door. And the reason why he had them built into the hotel and they were there was because that's where he hid the supplies and stuff that he had delivered to the actual hotel that he didn't pay for. He hid them in there, and he could move furniture from one room to another. Excuse me, without the people like, hey man, you still owe me for those 9 chairs. I don't have those 9 chairs. And the person will go look for yourself if you think those 9 chairs are here. And he could go upstairs, and then move those 9 chairs into one of these hidden rooms. But that's what they were for. They weren't torture chambers or torture rooms or murder rooms. A lot of people, believe that, the myth, the lore of Holmes, and a lot of the myth and lore about Holmes was originally written when they came to search the actual castle, castle hotel itself, and reporters needed to get a story out right away to, they're on the front page about this murder castle. So that's where all of it came from. It's called an insurable interest. All right. Did you know some people have tried in vain to link H. Holmes to as many as 200 murders? Every one of those are people no one can say for sure were even murdered. They are just people who either moved or were unaccounted for in the later years. That is absolutely true. Just like the people who worked for them, they disappeared. They moved on with their lives. Some of them moved up, and got jobs in support of the gold rush that was taking place, out west and in other areas. They moved on to bigger and brighter, futures. But 200, no. His actual murder count probably is closer to 15 than it is to 24 or 200. But when they had the World's Expo there and people never came back, home, they're like, oh my God, maybe they stayed in the hotel there. And by the way, Holmes started the actual construction of the motel 2 years before they ever decided that they were going to have the World's Expo in Chicago. So the hotel was built and it had nothing to do with the fact that the World's Expo was coming to Chicago. All right, question number 4. Scholars have in the past said H. Holmes showed remarkable skills in his murders, when in fact he was extremely sloppy and showed a fundamental error in what? Was it A, the ability to discard evidence, B, understanding of blood and the amount, C, how people are reported missing, D, how to collect insurance payouts, or E, other? Scholars that have in the past said H. Holmes showed remarkable skills in his murders, when in fact he was extremely sloppy and showed a fundamental error in what? Question number 4 of 20. We are in the more you know NBC commercial moment. Da, 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 da. The more you know. You got a whole lot of D's, huh? Tamara's going A, maybe. Carol going with D as well. Question number 4 of 20. He was extremely sloppy and showed a fundamental error in what? What did H. Holmes not understand? He couldn't tame mountain lions. And the Morgan's going with D as well. Probably the only thing I remember from college organic chemistry. I remember a lot about geology from taking the geology courses. And I drive my wife nuts as we're driving down the freeway. I start pointing things out, that in our area, especially for geology stuff that I don't know why I remember it, but I do. All right, question number 4. The correct answer is A, as in apple, the ability to discard evidence multiple times while he was after he had committed murders to discard the evidence of the individual. He made sloppy mistakes by leaving things behind, blood-soaked rags, shirts, with the blood of the victim on it. And these things would eventually end up, dooming, H. Holmes in the end. But he was just sloppy about it. He, okay, get rid of the body. He figured that part out from his medical history, because he went to medical school. He knew that part of it. He knew how much, how to do everything else. But that one simple fundamental thing. Okay, now I need to get rid of all traces of the individual, and They discard all evidence. You would think that would be the first thing. Okay, roll them up in a carpet and whatever I'm going to do with them, and then get rid of the whole damn thing. But he made fundamental errors over and over again, and that is, there was enough circumstantial evidence, but they were never able to prove. Okay, there is this shirt belonged to this individual. That you got to think that was way before we have the forensics abilities we have today, where you could like say this blood is positively from this individual. All right, Carol, good evening and welcome to this evening's trivia night. I hope you had a great weekend. Question number 5. How was H. Holmes finally put to death after the state was unable to acquire enough sharpshooters to execute him at his firing squad? That is true. He was originally sentenced to die by firing squad. They needed 3 sharpshooters, and only one person has a live round, and the other 2 have dummy rounds. But how was he finally executed? Was it A, gas chamber, B, the electric chair, C, hanging, D, lethal injection, or E, other? But they were only able to come up with 2 people, an actual sharpshooter and the other person. They were one person short, so they went to their second option. And just think, back then, when they did executions, these were public, events. People would pack a picnic lunch and gather their kids and make a day of it, and they would sit around and watch these actual executions. How was H. Holmes finally executed? Good evening, Jude, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. C. Tamron says C. Just another Chicago swinger. That's what they called them. That is a reference that was used for people that hanged at the gallows. They called them swingers. See, and he went really well. They forced him to read Chad Daybell's books. They locked him in a van down by the river. In peace. That would be torture. Would that be cruel and unusual torture? To force him to read Chad Daybell's books? I think it would be cruel. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I've actually read a couple of excerpts of one of his books, and they're terribly written. They are absolutely terrible. I read like you go into Amazon, you can click on to read the highlights of a book or a passage for or a paragraph or 2 from the book. I did that for a couple of them, not just one, but one of them I actually sat down and actually tried to read, but made him get a Yugo driven by a meth-smoking mountain lion. Bring down by the river, Chris Farley would be a gift. Good evening, Lindsay. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. All right, question number 5. The correct answer is C as in cat. Just another Chicago swinger is correct. He was hanged at the gallows, and it was a public execution. He was hanged at the gallows. All right, question number 6. So H. Holmes received a death sentence, as we know now. He was eventually hanged for his crimes. How many murders was he actually convicted of? Was it A, 7, B, 1, C, 8, D, 2, or E, other? How many murders was H. Holmes actually convicted of? Question number 6 of 20. Just a swinging. Wasn't that John Anderson? I think that was John Anderson's song. Just a swinging. As a child, I used to love playing hangman. Yeah, hangman. We used to play hangman a lot when I was a kid. Gianna Marie and Mallory go both going with B. Riot Cart and Sprinkle Donut are both going with D. Tamarin's going with C. Question number 6 of 20. Left-handed RN is going with B. So is Carol. Lemon Pie says E. None. He slipped on a banana peel. Well, at least he didn't smoke a banana peel. Smoking banana peels will make your head fucking explode. That's the lyrics from the Dead Milkman. Smoking banana peels. I still love Hangman, and I still play it while waiting for meals at restaurants or on an airplane with the kids. That's cool. Well, my son likes to play I Spy when we're on road trips or where we have to go someplace and wait, especially like like a doctor's office. He's terrible at it, but he likes to play it. He's like, something blue. And then you guess like one item. You're like, is it the book? No, it's the poster. He's terrible at it. He only gives you like one choice. Like, okay. There's a good song about HH. I'll wait in case it's a question. No, there's no songs references on anything, Kitty Q, about H. Holmes. If you want to go ahead and say it now, you can. There's actually a song about smoking banana peels. Yes, by the Dead Milkmen, Mel Stiller. That's the name of the band, Dead Milkmen. I think it might have been on Bleeze of Bubba, the name of the album, or one of them. I mean, it's been a while since I've heard the song. I'm the best player at hide and seek. I can wait until I can't wait until it's an Olympic sport. Yeah, you never know. These days, badminton is an Olympic sport. I mean, I guess anything could become an Olympic sport now. Things that I never thought would ever be Olympic sports are Olympic sports now. Okay, question number 6. The correct answer is B as in boy. Bitchin' Camaro, says Lemon Pie. Bitchin' Camaro, bitchin' Camaro. I ran over my neighbor. Hey man, want to go down to the shore? Oh yeah. Doom, 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 doom. But H. Holmes, back to that. Stop, messing with the comment section. He was convicted of one count of murder, and that is what sent him to the gallows. Was one murder. All the other ones, they were never able to have put together a case to try him for those other murders. The other 9 that are known to that he is exclusively linked to those murders, but one. Yeah, it's Murder Castle, but design creations, the heavy metal Murder Castle by Designing Creation. Okay, I'll look that up, Kitty Q. Thank you for letting us know. All right. Question. Nope. Next is Did you know? Did you know is next. All right. Did you know H. Holmes was a bad man. Even if he wasn't convicted, convicted of the one murder, he would have eventually got 30 years for all of the theft charges they could have charged him with in those days, and that would have been a death sentence in itself. By what I mean for this, did you know? Is at the time that H. Holmes was finally arrested and convicted of the murder, he had about 26 outstanding fraud cases out the charges that he would have gotten and been sent away to prison for, and those were for, well, planning to kill or hiring someone else to kill someone else. He did that. He had fraud charges for life insurance policies that go all the way back to when he was in medical school. I mean, it over and over again. It was a huge scam. I mean, he just moved from area to area to area, until he ended up in Chicago, like we all know of. But even once he was in Chicago and he had his murder, hotel, he was already planning his next great, adventure in Texas, and that was where he was going next. And he almost got away with it too. And he was going to ditch the H. Holmes and who he was back in Chicago. And if he would have moved on to San Antonio, Texas, like he had planned, he was going to start all over again underneath a whole new name, background, everything. He came really close to getting away with it all. But if he would have been found guilty of all the fraud charges that he had out there at that time, he would have gotten 30 years, which at that time in the early 1900s would have been a death sentence. Nobody lived that 30 years in prison back then. Unlike today, where people have lived in prison an awful lot longer than that. Okay, question number 7. So we now know his real name and legal name was not H. Holmes. This was all part of his web of lies. What was his legal name? Was it A. Webster Allen Rich, B. Herman Webster Mudgett, C. Jonathan Stephen Leto, D. Patrick J. Fitzgerald, or E. Other? So we now know his real legal name was not H. Holmes. This was all part of his web of lies. What was his real legal legal name, complete name? Question number 7 of 20. H. Holmes brings to mind Bad Leroy Brown by Jim Croce. Baddest man in the whole damn town, meaner than a junkyard dog. Truly, taking when Jim Croce died, he definitely left this earth way too early. I would like to think, what would he have done, or what albums would he have released later on? That mustache alone could have gotten him the death penalty. That was actually a stylish mustache back then. Big old bushy mustache like that. The picture you see there is actually from the History Channel. The first 10 questions all have the same picture. Questions 10, 11 onward have different pictures. But Sherlock. Mel agrees. I have Jim Croce's album here somewhere in one of these stacks. I'm just not sure where it is right off bat. And I've always loved the song "Time in a Bottle." Hi, I'm only 7 behind. Hello, Miss K, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Question number 7. His real legal name is B as in boy, Herman Webster Mudgett. It's his legal name. H. Holmes is just another one of his own inventions, part of his web of lies. He was not given that name. He was not married into that name. He came up with it by himself. H. Holmes is a lie. All right. Question number 8. Where was H. Holmes really born and raised? Was it A, the slums of New York City, B, on a farm in North Carolina, C, the slums of Compton, California, or D, on a farm in New England, or E, other? Not Pee Wee Herman? No. Hunter Hearst Hemsley, Chad Daybell Sr., says Morgan. There are some, I guess you would call them minor celebrities who are actually members of Lori Vallow's family. They're minor celebrities, and famous in the medical and in the church, especially in the Utah, Arizona, and California. She actually has a couple of family members that were minor celebrities. Not Chad though, not anybody I know. The Jersey Shore, says lemon pie. Ivory Lady, H. Holmey. Of course, you would rap along with Dr. Dre. See, the slums of Compton, California. Is Dr. Dre from Compton? I know Easy E was, you know, and Farrell. I know they were. They're from the Compton area. I didn't know if Dr. Dre is from Compton. I mean, obviously with NWA, I mean, straight out of Compton, but Jinx Lemon Pie. Wasn't he born in New Hampshire? Question 8 of 20. Yeah, he was in NWA. That is true, Lemon Pie. But I thought I read something somewhere that Dr. Dre wasn't from from the streets of Compton like the rest of them. That he was born somewhere else. H. Holmes of Two Live Crew. Two Live Crew is nasty as you want to be. No relations to John Holmes, the porn star. Mr. Frosty, good evening. He's straight out of low cash. Is that what it says? Well, I'm glad you could be here with us tonight, Mr. Frosty. Where was H. Holmes really born? The correct answer to question 8 is D as in dog. He was born on and lived on a farm in New England. New England, yes, and there are a lot of stories about when growing up, that he was into, torturing animals, and stuff like that, and killing animals. That would have been totally, not something that he could have done, because their entire livelihood was raising animals, not killing animals. They didn't raise animals for slaughter. They raised them for other farmers and other people. Now, yes, pigs and sheep and stuff like that did go off to slaughter, but they also, but his family was dirt poor, and they actually took care, and they were paid to raise these animals, not slaughter them. Lynn saying this is straight out of Compton, Compton, like Tacoma, Compton. Banned in the USA. I was banned in the USA. Two Live Crew. I remember when all that happened. That's the only research I did on Holmes. He was born in New Hampshire. Hmm. When that Two Live Crew, as nasty as you want to be album came out, and they banned it from radio play, and I think they were arrested in Florida or someplace for playing obscenities. And I think that's one of the first things that empowered the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center in Tipper Gore, to go after musical artists. Was they got that early success against certain artists like Two Live Crew, and and going after them. They're like, hey, if we were able to take them down and get them banned, we can go after these other ones. And they went after a lot. They went. That's a whole other subject matter another night. All right, question number 9. Growing up on a farm in New England, a lot of authors over the years have tried to paint the picture that Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, abused animal. Is this factual? If you've been listening, I just gave you the answer to this. Is it A, yes, it's been proven? B, no, there is no evidence that it happened? C, no, but he really liked the sheep? Or D, Lori Vallow made it all up, blame her? Or E, other? Growing up on a farm in New England, a lot of authors over the years tried to paint the picture that Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. H. Holmes, abused animals. Is this factual? I feel so bad for people in the hurricanes. So do I. I got friends that are down in the Daytona area who are still cleaning up from the last one. And I'm sorry if I missed you earlier, Ivory Lady, but welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. The PRC later deferred to start the 99's HOA. Why is it? What the hell happened there? Go back down there. The animals abused him. 4 out of 5 mountain lions say yes. He performed unnecessary surgeries on animals. Cement shoes and Mel and Lieutenant RN are all going with B. In New England, the men are men and the sheep are nervous. I've heard that before. Insert name of state: Montana, Wyoming, where the men are men and the sheep are nervous. Bah. I've heard that before. Miss K, I don't know, but I'll go with B. Record D, of course. Lori Vallow was also his wife in a former life. I'll get funnier as we go on. I'm sure you will, Mr. Frosty. I'm sure you will. All right, question number 9. The correct answer is, in fact, C. C as in cat. No, it is not factual that he ever abused animals. I just gave you guys the answer to that just a little bit before when I was talking about his family's entire livelihood depended upon raising, successfully animals. There was no way that H. Holmes, while growing up on that farm, would have abused any animal because again, that was their livelihood, to take care of the animals. They raised them for other people. That was their job. They didn't own the animals, and they certainly hell couldn't, have him going out there and, slaughtering, some, animals. So he couldn't have done it. All right. But that didn't stop people in the past from making up all kinds of rumors. Like I've been trying to break some of those rumors for you tonight. Question: did you know during H. Holmes' early years, from the age of 8 to 15, there were several children and young adults who may have vanished without a trace from the area in which he lived? There is zero evidence that H. Holmes had any part in their disappearance. Yet people love to write about this as it's factual. And this is like where we were talking about earlier. Did he kill children? Yes, 2 children, but that was much, much later in his life. As an adult, where the insurance claim was to kill the parents and the children, and he didn't do it alone. And he wanted to kill them, and so again, another insurance scam that they would be insured, and then he would collect on the insurance, and then he was going to kill 2 more, and then collect on the insurance to put together this huge thing. But the insurance companies were getting tired of this man always insuring people and then them having to pay it out. But those children, when that disappeared and died under suspicious circumstances back when he was a young kid in New England, that there's no connection with H. Holmes ever having done anything factually to cause their demise. Excuse me. Okay. If it ever, there we go. Number 10. By every metric available, Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, was a brilliant man. He excelled in school and could have had a very bright future. What was his first job after high school? Was it A, school teacher, B, a police officer, C, a tax accountant, D, an editor for Chud Daybell, or E, other? By every metric available, Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, was a brilliant man. He excelled in school and could have had a very bright future. What was his first job after high school? At the murder hotel, did the beds fold up into the wall like the Three Stooges and shoot the people into the dungeon? No. And they're called Trumbull beds, hideaway beds, whatever. I think they're called hideaway beds. No, the hotel room that were there on the first 2 floors. The second floor on the second floor, the third floor was an addition added on later that was more rooms, hotel rooms. But they were just basically furnished with a bed, a regular spring bed, and mattress, sheets, and a desk. There was nothing else in the room. Very basic. But he had huge investors who helped him, back the entire project. It was all a scam from the beginning to build the hotel where he built it, everything else, right down to the construction and everything that was inside of it. Lindsay's going with A. Mel's going with A. Tamarin, crash test dummy. Says Tamarin. Miss K's going with C. Tax accountant. By every metric available, Mr. Mudgett, H. Holmes was a brilliant man. He excelled in school and could have had a very bright future. He was an apprentice for the Tiger King. He was he was a milkmaid, NASCAR driver. What was his first job after high school? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is A as in apple. He was a school teacher and he also tutored other students. By the time that he finished up his basic, education, high school years, he had already advanced so beyond. He was actually, I would say he was probably at that point just as smart, if not smarter than the teachers that were around him. But that's what he did after high school. His first job was it was a school teacher, and he tutored other kids, of course, for money. Before he left to go away to medical school. Well, he went to college, and then from his after college, and he went on to medical school. All right, that is our first 10 questions, as we do every time on every weekend on Sunday when we play trivia. After 10 questions, we take a 6-minute break. Do what you need to do for the next 6 minutes. Use the facilities, make yourself a cup of tea, smoke a bowl, slam some beers. I don't care. You do what you need to do for the next 6 minutes. And then we'll be back with the next 10 questions, plus our missing and endangered, spotlight on someone from America who is missing and endangered. Custom cock socket developer. No, there was no secret passageways, Mr. Frosty. There were doors, hidden doors, and ways for him to move amongst the actual motel itself, but no secret passageways. And there were secret rooms that didn't have like a normal doorway; they looked like just a wall, but they were meant to store things that he had delivered to the hotel that he didn't have the money to pay for, supplies, linens, all kinds of furniture that he had defaulted on. He had, well, I got to come up with another scam, insurance scam, to get the money to pay for this stuff. The first floor of the hotel was businesses. His business was on the first floor. If you're looking standing at it at street level, his business was on the right, and then there was another business to the left. But we'll learn about that later. Absolutely true, Mel. The hotel that he had built, the murder castle, was directly across the street from the family that he worked as a pharmacist at. And the empty lot across the street directly from their business is where he built the hotel. The murder hotel was built directly across the street. I did send you an email this week. Did you receive it? I went into mini coma this week. My house got wiped out with COVID. I am so sorry. Um, I haven't. I can actually look to see if I have the email. Give me 1 second. Well, more than a second, but Yes, I have your email. I have not read it yet. Sorry it took a while as a subject matter. I do see it. I did get your email. I will read it after tonight's live stream. And I'm truly sorry about COVID, hitting your household. That sucks. I got a friend of mine who is 98 years old and he has COVID right now. They actually put him in the hospital because he has other medical conditions on top of it all. What to do for 6 minutes? Burn Chad's books. Just starting to feel better. This is my third time getting it. This time and the first time were very similar. I slept for about 4 days. Wow. Oh, I got COVID. It was not fun. I only got it once though, and I don't want it again. And I'm truly sorry you got it 3 times. The last time I got sick, man, I thought for sure I had COVID. And it was about a month ago. I was down for the count. I couldn't get out of bed. And every part of my body hurt. And I took oh, 3 at-home tests and then one at the doctor's. And they all said that I didn't have COVID, but I thought for sure I had COVID again. That just knocked me on my butt. I lost a whole week of work. You've never had COVID? You're lucky. I lost my job as a pharmacist. I kept putting the wrong medication in the bag. But I've been watching a lot of game shows. English Berry, good now. English Berry. Hmm. I've never heard of that. We have little over 1 minute left of the break, ladies and gentlemen. Very good. I'm gonna have to look that up. There's a study that proves better-looking people do not get COVID. Who the heck is conducting these tests? I don't know, but I love them and send the article to my family who has had COVID. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Even though I have a very compassionate and compromised immune system, I've never had COVID. You're lucky, Mel. You don't want it. Just stay away from anybody who looks like they're sick. I mean, damn cold, or anything. But I have a little vector in my house. He's 8 and he's super cute. And whatever is out there, kids they pick stuff up from other kids at school or on the playground and they bring it home and they share it with everybody. So I'm sure I'm going to get another cold or COVID, eventually here soon. Ended up in the hospital with COVID. Guess I'm pretty unattractive. All right. Question number 11 is now on your screen. By the end of his first year of medical school, Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, had already taken part of part it had already taken part is his 2 scams. The first was to a fake lottery. The second one was what? What was his 2 scams by the end of the first year of medical school? Was it A, arson insurance coverage, B, car accident coverage, C, theft from warehouses that didn't happen, or D, life insurance payouts, or E, other. By the end of the first year of medical school, Mr. Mudgett, aka Holmes, had already taken part in two scams. First, it was a fake lottery. And the second one was what? That can't be true about good looking people not getting it. My wife is smoking hot. And then she got COVID. I'm sorry. Don't doubt that your wife is smoking hot, but I'm sorry that she got, COVID. I don't think there's anybody in my household who hasn't had COVID. Everybody has had it. And even though my wife and most of my family, worked in the medical field, they some of them worked in end of care, like hospice, and others worked in the labs in the hospitals. No nurses. My mother-in-law worked in radiology, and they all, even though they had all the COVID shots and all the boosters and everything else, they still got COVID. It's not, a guarantee that you're not going to get it. It just makes it so you're less likely, and reduces the severity of it. I'm very lucky indeed. I also don't go out much, or allow anyone who's sick to enter your home. That's a good principle, Mel. All right. By the end of his first year of medical school, Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, had already taken part in two scams. The first was a fake lottery. What was the second one? The second scam. All right. The correct answer to question number 11 is D as in dog. He started with filing fake insurance claims for people who were. This is where he had, as a medical student, he realized after we're done with the bodies of these individuals that we've used for medical school, what happens to these bodies? Well, they just go away to the mortuary, and the mortuary then buries them. Well, yeah, what if I put clothes back on them, and I, create some kind of, accident, a fire or something like that, where the body is destroyed, but they can still find human remains. And that's what he started doing. Insurance claims, fraudulent claims. These people were already dead from other things, and they then went to the medical school. In a lot of cases, these bodies were not exactly procured, in legal ways. So they were already dead. Why not make some money off them? He figured. Never took the vaccine or got COVID. You're lucky, Cameron. I just hope they never do what they did before with the shutdown and everything else. That was a huge setback for my son, particularly. All right. Question number 12. After high school and before moving to go to medical school, Mr. Mudgett, aka H.H. Holmes, was married to his sweetheart. Do you know her name? Was it A, Clara Whitworth, B, Clara Daniels, C, Clara Lovering, or D, Clara Daybell, or E, other? After high school, before moving to go to medical school, Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, was married to his sweetheart. Do you know her name? Question number 12 of 20. Miss K is going with D, Clara Daybell. And her P's is going with E, Christopher Watts. Lindsay, C, Sal, Theresa, Reichart, Cement Shoes, and the Morgan are all going with C. Gilmation, New Hampshire was the town he was born and raised in. Morgan is going with F, Smoky. Miss K is going with C as well. Question number 12 of 20. Sprinkled Donut is going with C, and Ivory Lady is going with B. C sounds good, says Mel. All right, question number 12. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Clara Lovering. He married his sweetheart right after high school before moving away to go to college and then eventually medical school. And he never divorced her until much, much, much later, like years and years later, but married not one, but two women after that, while still married to his original sweetheart. Yeah, C as in cat. Clara Lovering. Question number 13. The Murder Castle, as it would be nicknamed later, was a two-story building originally, with a third followed added for the Columbian Exposition. What was the first floor used for? I gave you this answer if you were listening. It was it A, drugstore and a jewelry store, B, a drugstore and an auto dealership, C, meeting rooms and voodoo sales, or D, stock exchange in a restaurant, or E, other. Lorena Bobbitt. Better watch out. Lorena's got a knife. It sucks to be John Bobbitt. Murder Castle, as it was nicknamed later, was a two-story building, originally with a third followed added for the Columbian Exposition. What was the first floor used for? Interpeas is going with E, a pot dispensary. At Jersey Shore Marathon headquarters. He was confirmed bigamist. There's a damn fly in here. Why do I always get one fly? I never get like 10 or two. I don't get one annoying ass fly. And of course, I'm sitting in front of these giant lights. So they're, the fly just sits there and buzzes, circles and right in the middle of it. E, other, a laundromat. Question number 13 of 20. What was the first floor used for? I car A, Miss K A, Mel A. Nels is going with the massage parlor. Ivory Lady A. Will, don't kill it on stream, right? Kill a fly on stream and watch people, tear me apart. Is animal cruelty. Don't need that again. All right, question number 13. The correct answer is A, as in apple. A drug store, which, a pharmacy that he actually had, but next to it was a jewelry store. Originally, he had just the pharmacy, but he employed a lady who actually made jewelry, and she sold it in the drugstore originally. Then she moved next door to the empty actual spot and became a jewelry store. So, but it was empty. Then it was the only thing that was on the corner of the actual building. To the right, if you were standing looking at the building itself, was it the pharmacy. Directly across the street from the pharmacy where he originally worked when he moved to the area. But and then she moved out of, stopped because she was getting so much business. She moved next door and started making, selling her jewelry in a jewelry store next door. And that was what was on the first floor of the actual murder hotel. All right, murder castle. Did you know Herman Mudgett, aka H.H. Holmes, officially graduated from medical school from the University of Michigan in June of 1884? He passed every exam given and had a perfect attendance record. True. June of 1884, he graduated from the University of Michigan. So I'm sure that they're really proud that he is one of their alumni. Question number 14. How did H.H. Holmes come up with the money to build the third floor of his murder castle? Was it A, insider trading on the stock exchange? B, investors who didn't know him? C, sold gold bars that he had stolen? Or D, sold his drugstore on the first floor? Or E, other? Question number 14 of 20. How did H.H. Holmes come up with the money to build the third floor of his murder castle? How did he do it? It's C, B's, B, B, A, B, and Smith chooses with D. Sold his Chad Daybell books. Lizzie Borden axe tester. Bitcoin. Just remember, Lizzie Borden, history says that, Lizzie Borden, killed her, with the axe, but she was acquitted. She was acquitted. Trained mountain lions. Biden funded him, says Reichart. Sold the skeletons of people he murdered at the house. Murder aid, murder aid stand, like a lemonade stand, but a murder aid stand. That's a good one. Step right up and get murdered. Oh, question number 14. How did he pay for the third floor to be built? The correct answer is B as in boy. Investors who didn't know him. He spun another story about he owned the hotel and that they were going to be paid back by all these people who were coming for the Columbian Exposition, and that he had all these people that were going to be staying there. All you got to do is just give me some money, blah, blah, blah. He never put the hotel up as, 100% as collateral, but he did promise that, if nothing else, that if everything was to fall apart, that he would, the hotel was there. He didn't care about the hotel at all. In fact, when he was desperate for money at one point after the third floor was supposed to be finished and the investors were demanding, some kind of payment for the place, he set the damn place on fire for insurance claim, for fraud. He didn't care about the place at all. It was just another ends to a means for him. Another part of his story, in his history. The first Madoff, yeah, it kind of was in that aspect. All right. See, next was question number 15. This should be an easy one for everyone. How many wives did Mr. Mudgett have? Was it A, 4, B, 6, C, 1, or D, 8? How many wives? I've already given you the answer to this. If you're able to if you're able to follow along what I was saying earlier about him being a polygamist, I gave you the answer to this one. How many wives? Question number 15. Social media influencer. He didn't make money as a YouTuber? No. That's a good one. Social media influencer. Kitty Q, Sal, Lindsberg, Gamel. Oh, A. Oh, Anna P's 144,000. Smith Shoes is going C. And Reichart is going A. Apple. A is an apple. How many wives did H. Holmes have, Mr. Mudgett? Actually, we'll answer this question just how it is written. This should be an easy one for everyone. How many wives did Mr. Mudgett have? We'll answer the question just as it's written. How many? There must have been something nice about him. Sure, I can't find anything, Mr. Frosty. Let's see. He did run a very successful pharmacy for quite a few years. And when he was off, pulling his scams, he always had another pharmacist who was always there. Um, he may have actually killed the people he moved there to work in their pharmacy across the street. That was never really proven, but they did die under suspicious circumstances. But I guess that's a nice thing to say. Were they sister wives? No. How many wives did Mr. Mudgett have? You had an exceptionally had to be exceptionally stupid to get charged with polygamy. There was no technology back then. You're foggy from COVID. Okay, question number 15. Kind of played a trick on you here. How many wives did Mr. Mudgett have? The correct answer is C as in cat. Mr. Mudgett only had the one wife, Clara. Every other woman that he married as H. Holmes. C as in cat is the correct answer. He married only one person underneath his legal name of Mr. Mudgett. The rest were married, he married them under the name of H. Holmes. Question 16. What gruesome discovery was made when they were cleaning up the lot where H. Holmes' former hotel and pharmacy used to be? Was it A, human remains, B, burnt jewelry, mainly wedding rings, C, wrapped up dead babies, or D, the remains of 67 cats, or E, other? I heard you can't get into heaven unless you get married. Is that true? I don't think so, Mr. Frosty. That means I changed my name. My first and only marriage goes away. Sweet. What gruesome discovery was made when they were cleaning up the lot where H. Holmes' former hotel and pharmacy used to be? Question number 16 of 20. It appears Pet Cemetery, aka D. Question number 16. The correct answer to question number 16 is A as in apple, human remains. They did not find complete skeletons of any one person. They found rib bones, pelvic bone, a skull, and they found bones for hands, but partial remains of different individuals, not a complete skeletal remains of any one person. But they found human remains in the lot where the hotel and the pharmacy used to be. This was some years later, after the hotel and everything was gone from that lot. Sure, something's built on it now, even to this day. I don't know what's there, but I'm sure if somebody's in that local area, they probably know. All right. Did you know from 1969 to 1972, a man by the name of James Mudgett collected royalties from books, movies, songs, and merchandise with either the name or likeness of H. Holmes, saying he was a family member. It turns out this man was a fraud, just like Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. H. Holmes. Yes, for those 3 years from 1969 to 1972, this man named James Mudgett, that's what he said his name was, and he very well may have been really James Mudgett because the royalties were paid by check to him for books, movies, and merchandise and anything else with the likeness of H. Holmes. And there is an awful lot of it out there, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it comes to books and songs and other things that were recorded that had his name in it. And he collected these royalties until it was found out that no, he was an absolute fraud. He's not related to the former, Mr. Mudgett, Mr. Holmes at all in any way. It was all just a scam. So the scammer got scammed the scammer, I guess, in that aspect. Don't do not forget the TikTok dance. Was there a TikTok dance? Pretzel girls. Hmm. Okay. Question number 17. Several women actually employed by Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, vanished leading up to the expo and after. Turns out he didn't kill them all. Some just moved on. However, he did kill which one of these? Is it A, Sarah Jane Pickerton, B, Virginia Maines, C, Emily Crocker, or D, Edna Van Tassel, or E, other? Several women actually employed by Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, vanished leading up to the expo and after. Turns out he didn't kill them all. Some just moved on. However, he did kill which one? Which one of these is an actual victim of H. Holmes? Question number 17 of 20. Snooky. Oh, unfortunately, Snooky's on TV and she's famous. People should pay attention to her, although she's going to get really sad. Chad Dayville, the other self. Amelia Earnhardt. Nancy Reagan. Ronnie's Second Life. Spence Shoes is going with B. Carol's going with C. Monica Lewinsky. Well, there's a name you don't hear much of anymore. I wonder what she's up to these days. Hopefully not wearing blue dresses. Ivory Lady is going with D. Sprinkled Donut with D as well. Question 17 of 20. F, all of the above. All right, question number 17. The correct answer is D as in dog. Edna Van Tassel. Worked for him and he actually murdered her. Edna Van Tassel. Question number 18. When the heat was on after Holmes, aka Mr. Budget, had filed so many insurance claims, he came up with a brilliant plan. That plan was for one more payday, the death of, was it A, his business partner's wife and kids, B, the business partner and a stranger, C, his business partner and himself, fake his death, or D, his lawyer and his mother and father, or E, other. When the heat was on after Holmes, aka Mr. Mudgett, had filed so many insurance claims, he came up with a brilliant plan. That plan was for one more payday, the death of. Monica did a TED Talk a while back. She looks different, much better than when she was younger. Oh, I did not know that. I'm going to have to look that up. Be interesting to see what she's been up to all these years. Lori Vallow's Empire. Question number 18 of 20. He sounds like he could do D. Jimmy Hoffa. He is going to sell Amway. Cement Shoes, I'm changing to A. He killed Tom Shane. Genghis Khan. Lemon pie. What a death of Genghis Khan. Archie and Edith Bunker. Oh, no. Not All in the Family. Why would he want to kill the Bunkers, man? Kill, was it Jughead? Was that the daughter's boyfriend's name? Jughead, is that what he called him? I can picture him. That was Reiner, the movie director now, writer and director. Reiner. Kenny from South Park. Kenny's dead. Kenny has been long dead. They've killed that boy so many times. I've had a few bones that would have and that went flying away. Whitey Bulger, Meathead, that's what it was. Thank you. I've had a few bones that would have liked to murder. Meathead. Thank you very much for everybody put that in the comment. Meathead. Yeah. You could never have a show like that on television these days. It would be off the air before it ever even got released. All right, question number 18. The correct answer is A as in apple. Rob Reiner, thank you. Was Meathead, but his last big payday, one more payday, big score, was to kill his business partner's wife and kids, and then he was going to fake his own death and move off to San Antonio, Texas. But that was how his brilliant plan. Well, I'm just going to kill off, my business partner's wife and kids, and I'll be out of here. Liquor stores are still open, and I have cash. Ah. All right. Question number 19. Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, was a lifelong member of the Republican Party. However, he found members to be too smart. So when it came time to a scam, he always went after what? Was it A, Democrats, B, anarchists, C, communists, D, workers party members, or E, other? Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, was a lifelong member of the Republican Party. However, he found members to be too smart. So when it came to time to scam, he always went after what? Who? For what group? Ooh, we got B, 11-5. Mel and Theresa are going with B, anarchist. Question number 19 of 20. You think Rob Reiner directed Stephen King's Stand By Me? I don't know. It was a good movie, though. The Frat Party. Carol, Rykart are going with B. Kitty Q. D. Gal is going with D. Lynn's D. Tamara F. The PTA. 11 Pie E. The Jersey Shore cast. You should have killed their parents, and that way we would never have had the Jersey Shore. All right, question number 19 of 20. The correct answer is A as in apple. He went after and he targeted people who were Democrats. Wow, there's a hard one. Well, yeah, if he found people that were Republicans were too smart. So he targeted the other group, the Democrats. People who were Democrats to swindle them, and mainly insurance companies and insurance adjusters that were members of the Democratic Party. He targeted them. Like, well, they're just idiots, is how he felt. Did you know the murder castle didn't actually have hidden secret rooms? That was a lie that H.H. Holmes said in a confession. The rooms were actually broom closets. I already talked about this in case you remember. With the false doors used to hide furniture and supplies that Mr. Mudgett had delivered but didn't pay for. Bonus fact: the murder castle's third floor was never completed, but Mr. Mudgett scammed investors into believing it was, and then pocketed the money. That's behind the actual me in the corner there. But all right, question number 20 of 20. Who was Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, married to when he was arrested for murder and eventually executed? Was it A, Mitra Belknap, B, Georgina Yoke, C, Clara Mudgett, D, Samantha Killen, or E, other? Who was Mr. Mudgett, aka Mr. Holmes, married to when he was arrested and murdered for murder and eventually executed? So she avoided old people driving Cadillacs. Oh, sorry. You tap on the mic there. Lemon pie is going with B. Cement shoes is going with C. Question number 20 of 20. RuPaul. I have quite the dream for you, Nancy Pelosi. Could you imagine him married to RuPaul? Sorry about the noise it's going to make. Trying to doing. I'm going to have to adjust that later. There's like this little elastic cord, that goes around the mic that keeps it for so when I hit the table, you don't hear like a loud noise. The ones come off. Yoko Ono, J Lo, wasn't he married to Clara Levering at one point? Yes, Mel. He never divorced. He divorced well, he dissolved or had the marriage dissolved to his first love. Deal, not dream. Question number 20 of 20. Who was H.H. Holmes married to when he was arrested for murder and eventually executed? The correct answer is B as in boy. Georgina Yoke is who he was married to at the time and living with and was planning on running away to San Antonio, Texas with when he was actually arrested and eventually prosecuted for the murder um, that he would. Zaza Gabor. Okay, you don't have to give yourself a letter grade, but some people like to keep track of it. Some people don't. You can give yourself, an A, B, C, or D, depending on how many you got right, or an E. You're an untouchable rock star, mountain lion expert. But don't forget, next up is the showcase of the missing or endangered person. Is next. Excuse me. Of the 20 questions on tonight's trivia, I knew exactly 11. I would have gotten a B. 11 of the 20 is all that I knew. So that's what I would have gotten if I was taking this myself. And somebody else was doing the trivia night, but I knew 11 of the 20. Don't forget the Alamo. Excuse me. Man, I swallowed an ice cube earlier and must have been sharp. Didn't even think about it. Yolk. She wound up on egg with egg on her face. Yeah, right? Okay. Help solve a cold case of someone missing or deceased. You may think you don't know much. You didn't see much. That tiny little piece of what you do know may be the one piece that helps close a case and would bring closure to a family. Wouldn't you want someone to do the same for you and your family in the situation? Don't call at Tiffin tomorrow. Do it now. If you know anything about that would help close, or it could be tiny. I saw them. I know where they were. I saw them later on from the timeline or whatever it might be. It could be something as simple as that. All right. I again am doing this in connection with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Name Us the Charlie Project, along with the FBI. I don't get paid to do this, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to click on any of those links or help them and support them, Name Us and the Charlie Project are nonprofits, and they survive only on donations that come into them. Missing and Exploited Center, obviously, they get grants for what the work that they do, and the FBI is paid by your tax dollars. But again, I'm not paid by doing this. I'm just doing this to, bring awareness to these people who are missing around the United States or endangered. So first one tonight is Heather Archer. Date of birth 1/18/1989. She's 35 years of age. She vanished on 7/8 of 2016. She is 5'6", 150 to 160 pounds. She has brown hair and hazel eyes. Details about her um, details often colors her hair blonde or a mixture of blonde and brown. It's never like one solid color. She liked to color her hair and like stripes in it. I guess how you describe it. She was last seen in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The last seen officially on July 8th of 2016 at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Very little details are known about where she may have gone. All her personal property was found at a friend's home and in a family's home. Not her mother, not where she lived or resided, but this is where her property was. Like she was storing her stuff there. Besides her wallet, ID, and cell phone, her cell was a pay-as-you-go model. One of those ones you have to, at the time, you had to pay, buy like an airtime card for it, which expired the week prior to her vanishing. So her cell phone was not active at the time when she actually disappeared. Last names that she has used in the past, besides her own, is she's used the last name of Moore, Daniels, and Scott. On the last day that she was known to be in the Milwaukee area, a possible sighting of her may have come in from a city main bus depot. She may have moved on to another part of the U.S. However, that is a speculation. No one knows for sure if that really was her who got on that bus and left, but she could be anywhere. If you know anything at all, you can leave an anonymous tip by calling 414-935-7405. Again, you can remain anonymous by calling in a tip to that number. Next is a child from the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is Andreas Mateo Rink. The photo is all the way to the right is an age-enhanced photo of what he would look like as a teenager. The other two on the left and in the middle is what he looked like when he actually vanished. He is with his non-custodial mother, Andrea Rink. It was abducted by her and she non-custodial mother from San Antonio, Texas on 1/26/2011. They could be anywhere in the U.S. and the FBI believes that they both had an excessive amount of help from two organizations that helped them go underground and set up new identities somewhere else. Again, they could be in the United States or they could be in Mexico. They don't believe that they would have gotten any other farther than that. But you can leave a tip at Missing and Exploited Children's link there or call 210-207-7273. Again, the far right photo is what he would look like today. His hair maybe been colored black or blonde, but that is what he would look like today as a teenager. And this is what his non-custodial mother, Patricia Guzman Prudera, looked like. Now, I need to also give you the information that Patricia Guzman Prudera, or however you pronounce her last name, that is her maiden name. She is a schizophrenic. She has been long diagnosed with schizophrenia from before her son was born. And at the time that prior to her, taking her son and leaving, she had become more and more deranged and believed in a lot of conspiracies that were being spread on the internet about the world ending. And this was again leading up in the months prior to her actually, taking her son. He was there with her on a planned like weekend, and it was supervised. But when the person who was there to for the supervised to watch her and to make sure that nothing happened to the to her son, when they fell asleep, she took her son and disappeared. Again, the FBI believes that she had extensive help with another, at least two different groups that helped her get out of the city and out of, probably out of the country with her son. And they have not been seen since 2011. Again, any and all cases and the information, no matter how small, you don't have to call the number and leave an anonymous tip. The numbers that are links that are on the screen, for each case, you can reach out to your local law enforcement, state patrol, county sheriff's department, anybody. If you may know anything that can help close one of these cases. Remember, every single one of these people have somebody that is out there that that's why they're missing. A loved one, maybe it's a brother, a sister, a husband, a father, somebody who is missing this individual, like in the one for the child here. So you can reach out and contact them, and help them bring closure to a case. I think John Bonet's parents did it too. Um, I have seen part of it. He is definitely onto something. Agree with James English that the interview is disturbing and says the at least about the parents. Okay, got to read those in as they came in the contents. We're talking about the John Benet Ramsey parents. Since McCain's didn't want to be charged with child abandonment with disposing of her remains, they concocted the stupid story we heard about the ransom and all of it. Do you think that the parents concocted the whole thing? Well, I really appreciate all the hard work you put into these live streams and bringing awareness to the missing. Well, thank you, Kitty Q. I appreciate everyone being here. I couldn't do it without you. And I mean that. I couldn't do it without you all being here as well. Yeah, talking about the McCanns. I don't. Oh, John Benet are John Benets are innocent. They have DNA and it didn't match any of the family members. The cops were lazy and did a crappy job. They did botch the investigation, and by allowing the parents and the brother to contaminate and then other people to trample through the crime scene, that entire case will never be solved unless somebody, writes out a confession, about the entire thing. That's the only way it's ever going to be solved. I know for a long time, people on the internet dragged, John Benet's brother through the mud, saying that he was the one that killed her. And I think they've pretty much proven that he didn't have anything to do with it at all. But it still didn't stop the internet from doing it. I think John Benet's parents are innocent. It's my opinion. They don't have any proof. Mm. Patsy, Patsy, the mom, think she did it. Well, my parents were in Portugal, 2 blocks from them, when Madeline disappeared. Wow, that is that's a too close. I do think that John Benet's parents know more, but I don't know if the whole investigation was a shit show. It was, definitely was. These are two different. Yeah, I know we're talking about, but the John Benet Ramsey and Madeline McKay. I understand that now. McCann, I'm sorry, not McCain, McCann. But both crime scenes were contaminated. The one, where the John Benet Ramsey case in the house, and her brother being dragged through the mud, and the people on the internet saying that he's the one that actually did it, and he had molested her, and then he's the one that killed her, and then people point the finger at dad and then mom, and that entire case. I don't think that's ever going to get solved. And when it comes to the Madeline McCain, where the parents were on vacation and they went out to dinner, that crime scene was again, contaminated by the family, coming and going, and people walking around through the entire thing. I don't think either one of them is going to ever be solved. Sal, good night, everyone. You have a great week, Sal, and thank you for being here tonight. Also, a family friend was approached by Ted Bundy and lived. She's in the book by Anne Rule. Ooh, well, that's interesting. Family friend. Every time I hear, or somebody mentions Ted Bundy, I always think about the story, by Blondie, and how close, she came to becoming a victim, of Ted Bundy. Yeah, coming and going all over the house. They try outside the house. Now, for actually, yeah, you could put that question to both of them. Like the supposed when they were looking for how the person broke into the McCain's home, that they trampled through the bushes and everywhere outside in that situation. And again, in Portugal as well. With Madeline's case. Again, I don't think either one of the two cases are ever going to get solved unless somebody writes out a confession. She was approached by him on crutches at night at U at University of Washington, UW. That's the Huskies. I went to college on the other side of the state. I went to Washington State University. I was a cougar. Carol, you taking off? All right. You have a great week ahead. Also, the police became so focused on the Benet family, they overlooked the clues that pointed elsewhere. That's true. Very true. I mean, both investigations were very sloppy. I mean, and then you think about what was it? What the hell was her name? Natalie. Um, in Italy, where they said that she killed her roommate, Natalie something. I can picture her, but I'm drawing a blank on her last name though. But I mean, and how many times did they go after her and try to prosecute her for saying that she killed her roommate, and over and over again? She's like, they kept on going after her. Lindsay, you're a husky. I lived over there for quite a few years, in the Seattle area. I went to I lived originally. I moved to Linwood, Washington. Then I lived in Linwood, Mokilteo, Edmond, and then Seattle, and then Tacoma. I lived there next to Tacoma Mall, but that was when I was in high school. I actually worked at Frederick and Nelson's department store. I was The person who came in and set up all the displays. I didn't know, not like the movie Mannequin where I put clothes on mannequins. Sometimes I did, but I set up all the displays and restocked all the Frango mints and stuff like that. Gig Harbor is a beautiful place. That short little story, but before my daughter was born, so this is obviously 26 plus years ago because my daughter's 26. Every year we would take a vacation, and we would start up by Bellingham, Washington, and we would go to, and there are a whole bunch of beaches. In case anybody ever wants to come to the west coast of the United States and check this out for yourself, there are beaches up and down the entire coast of Washington that don't even have names. They're just named beach number one, beach number two, beach number 40. We used to go from up again from by Bellingham by the Canadian border, and we would go down and we would camp, and try to get to each and every one of these unnamed beaches that just have numbers. That's all they're listed on a map, by the state, as beach number 12 or beach 20, and we would go down, and then sometimes we would take the ferry back up to Canada or over to Blake Island to one of the salmon bakes. But we used to do that every year. Me, my wife, we weren't married then, and then my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. So the four of us would go do that. Yeah, the British roommate, Amanda Knox. That's it. Thank you for each of you that put Amanda Knox's name in there. And good evening, Broken Justice. Yeah, but I've been all up and down the coast of Washington so many times. But Gig Harbor, we used to go to Gig Harbor, well, every year when we did the trip. But we'd also camp in the whole rainforest a lot. We always made it one of the places we always stopped and camped at was the whole rainforest, whole damn forest, the whole rainforest. Washington State is a very interesting state, when it comes to geology and climate zones. We got rainforests, we've got semi deserts, we've got high mountain plateaus, we've got deciduous forests. It's all here in one state. But yeah, we used to do it every year though. Some years we would, rent an RV and do it, and other years we would just do it in. Um, we'd all pile in a pickup, and then they backpack up and down the coast. We'd park one place and then walk, or take a train up and then come down. We used to do a lot of things like that. We're obviously, that was close to. Was my daughter's 26? That'd be close to 30 years ago now, or somewhere in there between, maybe 28 years ago. Because we stopped doing it about a year before my daughter was born. There are places in northern Maine, that are named with numbers and letters as well. Just massive lots of acreage of nothing but woods, no homes, no stores or businesses, no okay people, etc. I'm planning on making a trip back that way eventually. My best friend Tim is from Old Town, Maine. Old Town. It's where most of his family still resides in Old Town and the areas around there, to up and down between there and Bangor. But we came that close a couple of years ago, or a year, actually a little, no, it was a year ago. Came that close to going back there. And for who was it? Leonard Skinner, I think it was. the one of these bands like Leonard Skinner or I can't remember. I don't think it was Leonard Skinner because they most of them died in a plane crash. But it was like their last hurrah. Your daughter's 31, your son is 28, and we didn't have a lot of time in the White Mountains here in New Hampshire. White Mountains are only a 1 hour drive from where you are. Well, that's cool. I live in an area that's it's called a semi-desert. The only thing here is sagebrush, cactus, and dirt. A lot of sand. Come to Gig Harbor. I would love to host you and your family. Plenty of room. Would love to go up there. The closest we ever get up there, Lindsay, is I every year I'm up that way, but well, not really Gig Harbor. I'm more in the Centralia, Chehalis area. But I'm there at least once a year. I take a trip, and the first couple of days I stay in a cabin that's off the grid. Um, let's say that cabin is close to Dayton. It's close to Dayton, Washington, if you know where that is. And I stay there for a couple of days. There's no phone, no internet, nothing. It's so good just to unplug and get away from everything for a couple of days. And then I go to Centralia, Chehalis area for a charity golf tournament I play in. Which, by the way, I got to let everybody know this now. I'm playing in a tournament this weekend. There will not be a Saturday morning coffee brew this Saturday because I'm playing in a golf tournament. It's the spur of the moment kind of thing. I'm filling in for somebody else who is already paid and can't play in the tournament. So I'm taking this individual spot for them because they can't do it. So again, Saturday morning there will not be, and I'm going to post this to the community tab as well. There will not be any Saturday morning coffee brew. There will be the trivia night, Sunday. So at least I cross my fingers. I'm hoping. Patty Griffin lives in Old Town, Maine. The only reason why I know this was she was dating Robert Plant a few years ago when she was in the Band of Joy. All right, I know that story that you're telling me you have there about Robert Plant. There's a connection between her and my friend Tim. I don't know if they knew each other or if they went to school together or something, in the connection with Robert Plant. Because he's told me that story several times himself. But right as it is right now, there will not be a Saturday morning coffee brew. I'm hoping, that I will be back here in time to. I should be back around noon on Saturday. Well, yeah, so somewhere in there on Saturday, but on Sunday we're playing again. I should be back again on Sunday about noonish because it doesn't take that long, and I'm only the golf play tournament is only like 8 miles from me. But I'll let everybody know for sure. On the community tab, just keep an eye on the community tab here on YouTube, and I'll let everyone know. But I know I'm not going to be here for the Saturday morning coffee brew. Knock on wood, I should be back in time. Sunday for trivia. Oh, excuse me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia night there. I want to thank everyone again for being here. If you give this a thumbs up on the way out, and don't forget, check to see if you think you're a subscriber. Check to see if you really are. Underneath this stream, down here that if you see this is, where it says subscribe, you're not currently listed as a subscriber. The bell icon and all that, and I mean, it's kind of hit or miss if it ever works. But anyways, click on subscribe if you want to be notified for when I do the next thing. Dan, I meant to. We didn't spend a lot of time at the White Mountains. I took them hiking, camping before they were old enough to hike themselves and carried them the mountains in special backpacks I had. Oh, that's cool as hell. Damn, not Dan. I know. Auto corrections. But anyways, again, give this a thumbs up on the way out, if you would, please. Otherwise, I will see you again soon. Again, keep an eye on my community tab here on YouTube, and to let you know, of the changes. If anything comes up, like I won't be back here for trivia, or maybe things get canceled. You never know. If it rains and there's lightning in the at chances for lightning, they cancel the entire thing. It's happened before, and I hope it doesn't happen this time. But if they definitely err more on the side of safety than anything else. But thank you again, and I will read your email right after I close out tonight's stream. But thank you again, everyone. Bye.